told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Welcome back, guys, to the Journey of Life podcast powered by ZODZO, the brand. If improving yourself, elevating and educating yourself is your life's goals, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Dr. Tendaishe Monalissa, and of course, in the spirit of the Diaries. Actually, today we have a Budapest diary. I'd like to introduce a special guest host. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Yeah, please feel free to introduce yourself. I don't want to do you any injustice. So go ahead,
Okay.
Tell us where you're from, your age, everything.
So, my name is Dominiqa Savah. I am a Hungarian Spanish artist.
Wow.
More precisely, I am a singer, rapper, songwriter, and producer. I make what I call it is progressive R&B because it's difficult to categorize it into one.
Uh-huh.
It has a lot of hip-hop influences, and actually I draw inspiration from reggaeton and Afrobeats as well.
Oh, wow.
So I try to make a fusion of my music.
Nice. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much actually for reaching out to me.
I'm very happy to be
really
here.
excited. I feel like it's going to be very like a real authentic experience of us meeting each other for the first time, and the listeners also actually seeing a genuine hi, how are you? I'm Tendi, I'm this,
Because it really is the first time.
Yeah, because it's the first time. So guys, as you know, our tradition on the podcast is to have an education segment where we actually give like information and share some educational tips on different things. It could be career oriented, it could be things that you're trying to explore, hobbies, interests, or other parts of yourselves that you want to develop. So as you heard, Dominiqa is a singer, songwriter, rapper, producer. What is a singer? What is a songwriter? What is a rapper? Like, what are the differences?
So basically, one can be all of these things, but you can also be just one thing. And when I grew up, I always thought that every singer writes their own songs, but that's actually not the case.
I used to think that too.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, because you see the brand, you see the face, but it's in the music industry, it's not always the case. There are people who work behind the scenes, who write songs, but in many cases, like in my case, artists find it important to write their own music. In my case, I think it's important because I would like to be the one to represent myself, and it's only honest and authentic, I feel like, if I write my own music, but I love collaborating with people. As far as producing, I have been co-producing for years with friends, and about a year ago, I just thought that I could try to produce alone as well, because I used to hum the melodies I heard in my head to them, or like drum the rhythm I heard on the table. Then I thought, if I can drum it on the table, I can get a MIDI keyboard and drum it there as well. So I fell in love with producing alone as well, and it helped me develop my own sound a lot better.
That's really amazing. I mean, if we go back a couple of episodes before, we had TNIA.
Yep. Shout out to the drum king.
Yeah, whom you've actually worked with, and he really described in detail like what a producer is. So here you're coming also like as a singer and a songwriter, and also producing your own music. And I know that, and I've noticed, because I like to listen to a lot of like celebrity tea, a singer who also writes, I think it's something that's considered like really good quality for artists. It's almost like something you have bragging points for this if you sing, and then you also write your own songs.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really amazing quality, and like all these skills that you have, that you can actually make a whole body of work as you just sit there.
Yeah.
that's
But I have to credit him, for example, and other friends of mine,
of course,
like
yeah.
Ugo Blue, who they both have been very instrumental in my journey as an artist, watching them produce, sitting next to them and collaborating with them. So I have to give the credit to them as well.
For sure. So, I mean, I think you actually went through this in detail. Like, you can be a singer, songwriter, or one of each, or you could be everything. How have you managed to like self-develop, and what has been the financial investment, you know?
Ooh.
Because I mean, here you were kind of talking about when you decided that, oh my gosh, like I think I can do this production thing, and then you had to buy like some equipment for that. Like, how has that been financially for you to develop your skills?
I think every independent artist knows the sacrifices they need to make. Or if you don't know it, you will figure it out along the way, that there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to make. And yeah, that's definitely, that has been maybe purchasing a MacBook so I can download Logic and work on Logic.
What is Logic?
Logic is a software that you can use for production and recording and mixing.
Okay.
And well, as an independent artist, I definitely have to invest into my music. But I think that's kind of like that with every business that you have, that you need to invest, and you need to have a lot of faith. I think it's a balance of faith and logical thinking.
Yeah, because you don't want to, I guess, overinvest or underinvest, you know, or overcommit to something that you're not yet able to, you know, see through. So I definitely agree.
But also kind of like when you put your money into something, I feel like it also gives you more of a drive, because you're thinking like, oh damn, I spent something on this, I better make it work, you know?
yeah, I feel you. I mean, I'm not in the entertainment industry. Well, I guess I am now.
You are?
So I think, you know, like I had to invest in that. You know, I also have a YouTube. Okay, so I guess I'm in there, you know, in my own right. And I had to invest in it. I had to buy some equipment, and I had to believe that, okay, this is a worthy purchase, and it has to come to use. I can't just sit on this stuff and part my money.
And also studio time, videos, this, that. There's so many things to finance. People have no idea. That's why it's important to make connections and create friendships, because you can get better deals that way. So yeah, it's a lot of money, time, and energy spent into this.
Yeah, because I think maybe hearing this from, you know, a person like you is important, because people can get to really know like the type of commitment that they need to have, or the type of commitment that they are not seeing. You know, I think a lot of artists, they blow up, but they unless they're like an industry plant or something, you know, if you go back into the history, you see all the work that they put in behind the scenes, the sacrifices, the financial investment, you know, their own drive, the people who also helped around.
And that could take years.
There you go.
Plus,
exactly.
plus,
and then that moment
years.
happens. But I think you will have built like the stamina and everything like that. So I would like to ask, who has been your greatest like inspiration, or an artist, or even a figure that you look up to?
My biggest musical influences are Michael Jackson, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Lil Wayne, Rihanna, Victoria Monet.
The OGs.
Yeah. And definitely Michael's dedication to his fans and his commitment to his craft. I really like the way he used sometimes his own body and his mouth as percussion. That's something I will definitely try and apply to my own album as well.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes when I played my newer beats to some people, they said I can definitely hear Michael Jackson's influence, and this is just like, I can't help it. I've been listening to him since I was very little. My mom really loved him, so she basically introduced him to me. And I have to definitely put a highlight on Victoria Monet, because she's just starting to blow up really
Yes, she's
globally.
really
And
getting
she's
her
been in the
accolades
industry for
now.
15 years,
There you go.
writing songs, but the spotlight was not on her as a performer, as an artist. And, you know, she's a mom, and she does it all. So I really can connect to her on that level.
Honestly, I think, like I said, I like to watch a lot of TV channels, celebrity culture, you know, and stuff like that. And she's one person who has come onto the scene. And I think even though I'm not into that type of music, just that for me drew my attention. And I kind of went to look at her backstory, and just seeing some of her live concerts and everything, she is actually like very talented and very
Absolutely.
competent. She knows what she's doing. She's not just somebody who blew. It's like her consistent work and effort has come to the limelight,
Of course,
to the level at which it needs to be seen, to be fair.
I think people misunderstand fame and talent. They always think that the most talented people are the ones with the most fame.
No,
when it's not
no,
like that.
Hardly. That's actually true. Yeah, and I guess moving on, you know, you mentioned to me how you are in the European Music Academy, and I'd really like for you to go into detail about this organization. What is it about, and how did you discover it?
It's actually Eastern European Music Academy, and I applied for it last year and didn't get in. And then
So it's like a musical school?
Yes, it is, but it focuses on the music business side, not on the production and things like that. So it's very important, and it offers a great program for people in the music industry who are maybe independent artists or managers looking to manage other artists. And it gives you education about the rights of the music industry, what you need to know about the music industry. It's a 12-week program, and we have different lectures about different topics, such as publishing, master rights, building an image, branding yourself, a lot of things. So it's been a few weeks only, but I have learned a lot, and it's really exciting.
You know, I've been watching a lot on this, you know, like how a lot of artists, you know, they're trying to own their masters, own their music, because, you know, in the past, actually, the people behind the scenes have been capitalizing off of the music more than the artists and stuff like that. So I think it's great that, you know, you're setting yourself up to make sure that, you know, the work that you put into your art, the accolades, the credits, even like the monetary gain is also yours to keep, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to read your contracts. There's all kinds of contracts, and try to negotiate one where even if they have your masters for a certain period of time, you can actually get it back after, because there are contracts that don't allow you to get back your masters.
And they continue to capitalize off of...
And something about it doesn't sit right with my spirit, that someone else would own the work that I've done. You know, so even if it takes longer as an independent artist, I think it's very important
it's
for
worth
me to
it. Yes, I agree. So you said that actually you applied and at some point you didn't get in. So what are the requirements for you to be eligible to get into this academy?
We had to submit our own work and write about ourselves, why we would like to get in. And then I received an email that unfortunately this time you didn't get in, but you can maybe try next semester. And I did. And then they wrote an email to me that I was able to start the course, and I was really, really happy because I've been checking the page and you know, the posts that people shared about it. And I've met great people so far, and all the lecturers have been very useful.
Yeah. So actually, you know, I wanted to ask you how you feel that this would elevate your career, but I think you really actually answered that, you know, like you own your masters and, you know, getting the business side of things, knowing how to, you know, navigate that and stuff. So if you would tell me in the experience that you have, like what qualities do you think someone needs to have to be in this industry? Like, you know, like, do you need to be So I'm sure you need some level of like resilience.
That was the first thing I was going to say.
Or at the holidays, like, please go ahead.
I think, first of all, you really need to love what you're doing. Because if you're doing it for clout, then you will fall very fast. Because if you don't see success in the first, let's say, 2 years, and you're like, no, I'm not gonna, continue this because I don't see any success, that's because you don't really love it. If you really, really love it, it's almost like you have no choice but to go. It's like you have no choice because you're an artist. This is a big part of your personality. I'm not saying that all of my personality and my whole being is being an artist, because it's not true. I don't fully see my worth in being an artist. I think even if I wasn't an artist, I would still be a great person, and I would still be loved by God fundamentally. But it's a huge part of who I am. And like you said, resilience, definitely. And kind of developing the ability to read the room, because it's really easy to hurt people's egos, even without your intention being hurting them. And it can rub off the wrong way. And also, I would say the biggest challenge was to strip down this need to be a people pleaser. Wow. Yeah, because that's something I've been struggling with since I was a child. And
welcome to the club.
Yeah, I always felt like I had to be the sweet girl, the smiley one, and it's like I'm doing a disservice to myself, because sometimes I don't have to smile and be kind. Sometimes I have to be fair to myself and make the right choices and and step up for myself. And I think sometimes people, confuse kindness with being naive or weak.
Yes.
And I hate that shit, because it takes so much more strength to be kind, but you're looked down upon if you're kind, because oh, you can do whatever you want with her because she's smiling and she's like
walk all over this person. Yeah. Well, there you heard it, guys. Some of these qualities you need to have, humility, resilience, being able to read the room are really important if you want to get into, I guess, the music business, entertainment industry in general. I'd like to ask you a few more questions before we close off the educational segment. What has been your worst experience that comes to mind immediately as I ask this question so far?
I don't know if I should share this, but here we go. When I was a teenager, I went on a talent show on a national TV in Hungary. And I was basically humiliated. I can't say too much about it, but it was a really, really bad situation. I've signed a certain type of contract, and they did me dirty. Let me just put it that way.
I'm really sorry about that.
It's okay. I've worked through that. But it really slowed me down, not only as an artist, but as a person. I was frozen at the age of 17 for years. And I didn't even realize how it put a lot of shame on me into my subconscious mind. And I kept self-sabotaging myself and distracting myself with other things. But I didn't realize at the time that it was a huge blessing in disguise, because it taught me things that no university, no course, no nothing could ever teach me. And it was a blessing in the end. That's how I chose to look at it.
And I'm really glad that you kept a positive perspective on this. So actually, the last thing I'd like to ask, what advice would you give a person who is potentially going through the same struggles that you are going through coming up? And then we'll close off the education segment.
Read your contracts. And like I said before, it's very important to love it, but sometimes loving it means don't look at it as a dream, but look at it as reality and as a business. But of course, you're not going to know that early on.
Mm-hmm.
But as you take your steps, try to make your steps into this as logical as possible, like a to-do list. And don't share too much, because not everyone has the same heart as you.
Yeah, that's, it's actually true. I think me personally, I'm a person who's struggling with oversharing and trying to filter that out, and it's so true.
I can relate.
Sometimes you don't
It's
want
overcompensating.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just good to not count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah. Woo! Okay, preach.
There you go. Yeah, so with that, we're gonna close off the education segment, guys, and we're gonna see you in the next part, and we get to know Dominiqa more, her story. I wish you guys were here in this room. Hopefully soon we'll get the podcast on video, but I could feel and I could see the pain behind the strength that you had to gain, when that unfortunate event happened when you were 17. But I'm really glad to see that for you it was a teachable moment.
It's not going to ever define me. That's why I'm not even mentioning who it was, what they did, because they're not getting the publicity, honey. They're not getting it.
Oh, that academy is working. Yeah. All right.
As you fade away, as you fade away.
So, Dominiqa, welcome back to the second segment.
Thank you.
We're chilled, we're relaxing, we're getting to know each other here. I want to hear your life's journey. Like you say you're half Hungarian, half Spanish, and in my experience here in Hungary, I think we can all agree that Hungary is a deeply conservative country, and I don't think that Hungarian people are always keen, I think, on people that are different from them. I wouldn't say that I think they can be completely hostile, but I feel like as, more and more exposure, more internationals coming around, I think as a people, they're continuing to open themselves up bit by bit. But I think it's deeply rooted in the culture to be completely closed off. So what is your background, being half Spanish, half Hungarian? Who's the Spanish side? Who's the Hungarian side? And how was that like?
I have Spanish roots on my mother's side, and my dad's Hungarian. And what you said is true, but I would also like to take the opportunity to defend Hungarians because they've been through a lot of trauma in their history. Especially the past 100 years for Hungary was incredibly difficult. And I feel like people don't even realize that it's the generational trauma that they need to break. That's why they are depressed and sad and closed off. But at one point, I think it's every person's responsibility to notice that about themselves. I grew up in a very, very small town in Nógrád County of Hungary. As you may assume, someone with an eclectic background doesn't really fit in there. And that caused me some trouble in school. I was I don't like to say victim. Let me just phrase it differently. I underwent.
You're a misfit, maybe?
Yeah. I went through physical and emotional abuse by my peers in school, but I had very nice family background. Both my mom and my dad, they're wonderful people, and I credit them for breaking their own generational trauma because they both come from very troubled childhood, and they both individually, before even meeting, decided that whenever they will have children, they're going to do it differently. And then what do you know, God put them together and they became my parents, and I'm super, super grateful for that. My mom is the most funny and most open-minded person ever. She was the one who introduced me to this open-minded mindset, and she's the reason why I'm able to make friendships with people from any nationality. I love to travel. I love to have conversations. I love to connect. I feel like I can relate to any other nationality in to a certain extent, I can relate to anybody, even if it's from the end of the world. And she was the one who introduced me to music. We played a lot of R&B and funky and soul.
Okay.
So that's my love for Black American music. That's where it came from. And interestingly, we had like this compilation of songs that she didn't even know who it was. She just played it when I was little.
Just like it.
Yeah, and we listened to a lot of Latin music as well, of course. And I was around 9 when in school, one of our teachers, she noticed that I can sing. And that didn't really sit well with other children. On top of that, I also had epilepsy. And I thought I should be open about this, you know, so if I have a seizure or something, other kids can like help out or something. So I shared it with my classmates. It backfired because they ended up bullying me on that as well. I was called a lot of ugly things. So by the time I was around 11, I've developed this hate for myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated who I was, and basically I spent a lot of time picking myself apart in the mirror, and an 11-year-old has no business even thinking about things like that.
True.
I remember I was in before gym class dressing up with the girls, and I already started developing hips and boobs at like 9, and I looked at the other girls and they didn't have that, and then I went home to the mirror and I tried to like position myself in a way that my hips would still be like square. And thinking about that, it's like, but that was natural.
Yeah.
It's okay. Some people develop early physically, but I really thought of myself as like someone super, super ugly, because that's what I was called. And you know, it's really bad that people have to go through that as children. As children can be mean.
Very mean. And, you know, I think speaking about this, I think a lot of girls who developed early, actually, I realize now, well, I'm not one of those girls, but late bloomer.
You got it going on now.
But I think in a lot of cultures, I think this is something that a lot of girls who develop a little bit earlier really experience. Like it's almost like you're ridiculed, and people will say things like, oh, you know, you're trying to be seen, you're trying to be seen by guys, by men. You can't help your body. You can't help that the hips are there, you know. And I find that a lot of my friends actually, and when we were discussing their childhood, people who generally are like always trying to hide under their clothes, and I'm like, you have such a beautiful figure. You take a look back and then you realize this is what was happening, you know. While we're praising these features now, they have a very bad relationship with these features, because when they started coming in, they were ridiculed for them. So they were taught that, no, your hips are a bad thing, because it means that you're trying to attract the wrong attention, you're trying to seek out men, and all these things that were put on really young people. They were just children. What do they know about men liking boobs or
exactly?
You know, things like
you don't
that.
Even think about that.
Yeah, and it's adults who are putting this. So I think, I hope that we can be better parents, and we can break, like what you said, these generational trauma and cases and ways of thinking that are extremely damaging, because we see now the effects, how it affected us, you know. And I'm really sorry that, you know, you went through that. And I guess, you know, some of the negative experiences that we have, they really do build character. If they don't break us, for sure they build us into some of the strongest people, but they do create trauma that will require a lot of work.
It takes so much time to get
over, and it will have so many, you know, like effects on, you know, not only your self-image, but your relationships with other people, you know, even your relationships, if you're dating, friendships, you know, it creates insecurities and all these things that really, really mess everything up.
And just a false image of yourself. Something really bizarre also happened. I had a car accident when I was 9, and my classmates came to our front door and wrote, "Dominiqa is a whore." I'm sorry if I'm cursing.
No.
And I never really understood that. Why would they call me a whore just because I got into a car accident? And being called a whore so many times, it really affected my adult relationships. And it led me down on somewhat of a promiscuous road, even early on in my life.
Because it's like, well, I already have this label anyway.
Yeah, as I'm a hoe then. Yeah, exactly. And you don't really realize
and then
that this is in the back of your mind.
You embrace it and you're like, you know what? Hoe is life.
Yeah, and then they don't even use it correctly. Why do we feel so comfortable calling women whores? What is this word that it has such power, that we throw it around? And why would 9-year-old kids use this word for a classmate?
Yeah, I think that like a lot of children's behaviors are actually a reflection of who is parenting them.
Oh, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And this is why when we are becoming parents, I'm a millennial, so I feel like we are the generation that's becoming parents now and stuff like that. This is the amount of power that we have. I think I was listening to to another podcast, and someone described parenting as a ministry.
Yeah.
It's a ministry. Like, if we take it that seriously, it's not just giving birth to a human being or populating the earth. It's actually a ministry. So you have to take it really seriously, and you have to make an effort to also deconstruct the negative things that you
like
can
my
pass on to your child. Like, the parents are feeding these things. Like, no child will develop this vocabulary if they're not hearing it around them, if they're not seeing these behaviors around them, if they're not being exposed in one way or the other, whether if it's things that they're watching, people that's taking care of them, and all these things, then whatever the society is exposing them to. So, while we can hold these people accountable, it's actually the parents, because this is all who they are is being reflected through their children. And I would absolutely hate it if my 9-year-old child is being this way to another child, because what a piss poor job I've done as a parent.
Absolutely.
That it's my child that's calling other children names, derogatory names. Like, where are you finding this type of language?
It's a global problem.
That's crazy. And it scares me, that we are raising our children who are so susceptible to be exposed to so much, and I almost feel like, how will I be able to control like what they get exposed to, what they hear, the words they will learn? There's just so much out there. And to think about how global the world is now, and these children were being
they're
this
exposed
terrible
to so much more.
Can you imagine now? It's
Yeah.
really scary. But I don't want to divert too much, because I actually wanted to dive in a little deeper. You talked about how, your parents were really integral in who you've become, and
Absolutely.
they actually made a conscious effort to bring you up differently from their own background. So would you consider them your biggest support system?
Absolutely. My parents are, to me, the proof of God's existence, because the love that they have shown me is unlike any other. And they're just also my friends. And I respect them. And especially my mother, she always listened to me, even when I was a child, even when it comes down to the smallest things, like going to the store and, would you like to pick out the pink or the yellow shirt? And it makes you feel like, as a child, like, okay, so I have a say, I have a choice. So she made sure that I feel understood. Even looking back at the old home videos, how kind she was with me is just a beautiful example. And I want to share a really, really sweet story, just to show you how smart and great my mom is. Where I grew up, there was a family. They were from Angola, so they were the only Black people in that region. And I was playing with a little boy. I was around 4 or 5. He was also around the same age, and I played with him and his sister, who was a couple of years older than us. We were at the playground, just a regular day, and my mom really made a conscious effort to raise me open-minded. So she wanted to know if there is any sense of racism in me. So after the kids left, she came to me and she asked me, Dominiqa, did you notice anything different about the children? And I said, yes, mommy, one of them was a boy and the other one was a girl. And she said, yes, baby, that's what I wanted to know. It's so smart. She could have asked, did you notice they're black? But with that, she already implements in my mind that these children are black. But she didn't. She just asked, did I notice anything different? And I didn't. And things like that show me how great of a person my mom is. And it's really that simple to educate your kid to be open-minded and empathic and welcoming and just loving.
Yeah. Honestly, shout out to mom.
Yeah.
We are going to bring her onto the podcast. Onto the podcast.
She's the prototype.
You know, like I feel the very same way, you know, about my mom as well. Like, and I think, you know, when you grow older, you get to see the effort. Because now you get to actually understand the intentionality behind everything they were doing. Because you can see as an adult now, like, oh my gosh, like this woman was so smart. You're now seeing fully like what they were trying to implement in you, and it's such a great
I don't know
feeling.
how she did it because I was annoying and loud. Like I understand why I didn't have a brother or sister. I'm an only child because honey, they had 5 kids. I was like, it was like me is already 5 kids.
You know, I think it's really lovely to hear people speak so fondly of their parents, you know, and having parents as your support system. I think now I realize how much of a privilege it is because you start to see that not everybody gets that in life, and how much it can, I think, push you forward as a person, that even if society rejects you, if your parents accept you, man, you can go everywhere you need to go, because I think that's the first point of contact. That's the first point,
it's very important,
where you identify yourself. So even when you go out there and people, you know, misinterpret you or misidentify you, you come back home to that core place that continues to instill you who you are. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why you were still able to power through. You
it's
went
definitely
back home
one of the reasons.
to a mother who reassured you who you are, who accepted
even though
you.
at times I felt like she only loves me because she's supposed to, because she's my mom. Like I really felt like, okay, I'm wrong, but I'm fucked up, but she loves me because she's my mom.
And I think we all need people like that. Because I think even then we will never be perfect. But I think to have people who still love us regardless, I think everybody deserves people like that in their lives, you know?
They do.
So you told me that you didn't decide to go to uni. How, and I know, you know, it's more traditional now for everybody to go to uni and stuff like that. Like, how did your parents receive that? And how did your society receive that as well?
My parents also didn't go to uni. So they were not even encouraging me that much to go to uni. That's the only thing that I think, change in my parenting if I become a mother later, that I will emphasize the role of education a little bit more. But then again, life gave me all the education. Girl, that
there's a lot of things that they do not teach in uni. I promise you.
Exactly. Coming from a small town, coming to Budapest alone, basically finding my way around almost with no help and absolutely no financial help, because I've been working since I was 19. So that's when I moved out, because I knew I had to leave the countryside for me to be self-actualized, because there was nothing there for me. So they supported me emotionally, but everything that I achieved financially and still am achieving, I did it on my own. And I'm actually proud of that.
Yes, you should be. I think being like independent so young, you know, I think I'm still, you know, getting support from my parents, and, you know, seeing people who had the courage to just fly on their own. It's really something to be proud of. It's really something like truly remarkable. So honestly, you should be proud of yourself.
There were many times when now I look back and I'm thinking, how did I even get through that or survive that? Because there's also a lot of distractions when you're coming from a small town. Like, I definitely got caught up a lot in parties and men, and I'm not, I don't feel like I need to present myself as like this holy being, because I'm really not, because I want people to relate to me in that way, that I am very flawed.
Yeah. And, you know, I've I've gone through all these phases that
Yeah.
you've gone through too, and I can relate. And speaking of that, as a songwriter, as a musician, like, where do you draw your inspiration from? Is it from your life experiences?
Yeah.
You know?
Life experiences, things that are happening around me, and sometimes even just wanting to manifest something. So maybe I'm not in love, but I want to experience something romantic in my life. Then I write about it as if it was already happening. And then it just feels good. And I think music is a transfer of energy.
Absolutely.
So you then tap into this energy, and then my listeners can tap into that energy. And also just expressing any type of emotion. Like, if you listen to my songs, there's all kinds of emotions. Sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm feeling sexy, and they're all valid and they all need to be expressed, and we don't have to be just one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I feel like I can sing about anything I want, even if I feel like wake up and I think I hate myself that day, then I'm singing about that day, and then let it pass and move on to the next one.
I feel you. You know, I write poetry myself, and
Sweet.
I think for me, my inspiration always come from like sad places.
Yes.
But I think I think there's people like that. You know, there are people who are like great at writing heartbreak songs. You know? They're just so good at it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think maybe I'm one of those. Like, my art comes from those dark places.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I don't feel that inspiration coming when I'm in a good mood or when I'm really happy. It's always those, like,
generally like that. Oh, I definitely have heartbreak songs as well.
Dark places where I think my inspiration comes from, and then it's just like, okay, yeah, I let out that feeling, I express that feeling, but I realized that, like, wow, all of my stuff is like morbid and dark and sad and depressing. But I think for me, it's a way of releasing emotions that I feel like they're really relatable. But I used to, and I used to find it really difficult to share the poetry, because I felt like I'm literally bearing myself out to you,
it's like
because
that.
I'm showing you this vulnerable, like, feeling I'm feeling. And, you know, sometimes you don't want people to know your vulnerabilities or your insecurities or what you're going through. But I think the more I share those things, the more I realize that, oh, actually, I'm not alone. That actually doesn't make me weak, because I think that has been my greatest fear, to appear weak, to seem weak, because I always want to present myself like I'm strong, I'm invincible. But now I realize there's a strength to that vulnerability.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a strength to sharing actually your insecurities, like what you've come to do here, to talk about your story, to share the things that you've gone through, because I think it reflects the amount of strength and work you've done to actually overcome. And these things are no longer something that you hide from, or they cripple you anymore in life. You're just moving on with it. So
also, I like to write about society, but not in a let's change the world type of way, more in an easy to digest, more witty, wordplay filled way, because I would like the music to be just easy to listen to, and have this I don't want to use the word positive energy on people, because there's also toxic positivity, but this transfer of energy that
it's enjoyable.
It may be, yes, and maybe subconsciously lifts you up. Like, maybe you listen to the song and it's not like, oh, it's not really about anything huge or political or something, but like, it's like just something that just makes you feel good.
Honestly, I think I understand exactly what you're saying, but as a consumer of music, I'm a person who likes to listen to something that sounds good to me. And sometimes the lyrical content doesn't register at all. I'm just the energy of the song and maybe the beat. I'm just enjoying that. And then maybe later on, that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this song actually talks about nonsense. Or this song actually talks about something really deep, you know, and everything like that.
That's why I really like Burna Boy or Kendrick Lamar, because they have songs that you can play in the club or you can play it in the car. It's going to blow up your trunk, but it's also about something. So for me to combine that, you know, hard-hitting 808s and things like that, but with something meaningful, it's actually the goal for my album that I'm working on right now.
Wow. Oh, could you please let us know the name of the album? You
The
know,
name
and
of
is
the
it like a mix of the genres?
Oh
Like
yeah,
what genre
it
is it?
is. I'm going to incorporate a lot of New Orleans bounce music as
Oh,
well,
wow.
because that's been a huge inspiration for me since 90s. Lil Wayne and Manny Fresh, the producer.
Mhm.
And actually, the first beat I ever made was a New Orleans bounce beat, and it's like, how the hell did that happen? But then when I think back on my life, I'm like, yeah, as much as I like the song "Back That Ass Up," it makes sense that it's a New Orleans bounce beat.
Mhm.
But it's definitely going to have different styles of music, and the album is called Poetic Paradise,
Oh, wow.
because it represents that is going to have a lot of lyrical content, like poetic, and it is my own paradise, so I make it sound the way I want it to. And paradise also means it's something good, feeling good, so that ties into what I said, the transfer of that feeling good energy.
Ah, I feel you. I feel Poetic Paradise.
Yep.
I almost want to just put that as the title of the podcast.
Nice, great.
You know what I mean? Like Poetic Paradise. That sounds so good for the ear. And
Thank you.
for someone like me who loves like wordplay,
Yeah.
I really have a respect and love for like lyrical content that is of good quality, you know, that leaves you thinking, that leaves an impression on your mind. And for me, I'm a feel good type of music. I like a lot of beats and all
Yeah,
that.
of course.
I'm
It's
this
gotta have
person
a
that you
groove,
won't
even if it's
really-
a slow song.
Yeah, you won't really find me. I think sometimes I have those songs that I listen to that are slow, but you won't really find me, let's say, listening to classical music or anything like low tones. I'm just like, king, let the beat drop every time. So when the beat is dropping and then there's really great lyrical content, I love it. So,
I don't have a release date yet, as I'm still working on it, and I'm the type of person that will write a lot of songs and then pick out the only best ones. I'm not kidding you, I have about 20 songs that are never going to see the light of day because I don't like them anymore. But it's good, it got me through something.
That perfectionism, huh?
Yeah. And then my plan is to write about 30, 50 songs and then pick out the best 11, 12 and put that on my album. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like eventually in life we have to hear the unsung heroes, you know? Because sometimes, you know, the things that we think are not the best are the things that will touch people the best. And I've come to realize that as a perfectionist myself, you know, perfectionism actually comes from a place where you're trying to be accepted and everything like that. And sometimes it can actually hinder your progress because you are busy focusing on what you're not accepting, but maybe actually those things are very acceptable and are very
Others
acceptable.
would accept it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe I was sent here to give you this reminder, you know.
Thank you.
While you're working,
I will apply that to my progress on the album.
Yeah. So actually, you know, this girl, she has something that she's rushing to. I'm really grateful that we were able to make this happen today. I love your energy and your openness, and thank you so much for reaching out to me. And yeah, actually, I want to talk to you about something, but this is behind the scenes,
Thank you for having
guys.
me.
Thank you so much, Dominiqa, for coming. I'm really wishing you the best, you know,
Same here,
in your journey of life. This is the Journey of Life podcast. It's AKA your podcast because it's the good podcast.
Oh, okay, so throwing some Hungarian.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming. I'm wishing you the very best, and I'm hoping that life unites us again and we can share another journey together. So with that, guys, don't forget, life is but a journey. So bon voyage. Bye.
Bye.
As you fade away, as you fade away.